I can't tell you how happy I am to see all these faces up here. My life is natural hormones. I've changed my entire life. Dr. Lee's changed his entire life to get out the information on natural hormones. I am a compounding pharmacist. For 10 years, okay, I was a regular pharmacist. I remember as a young kid, I used to say to myself, here's a pharmacist that has 5 pharmacies. If I were able to have 5 pharmacies, I would be successful. And the truth is, in 1998, I had my family back in New York, and we had 10 pharmacies. And you know what? I didn't feel successful. I felt like I was just treading water. I didn't feel like I was doing anything for humanity. And now, when we found natural hormones, when I found Dr. Lee, when we see what we're doing, and we see the amount of good that we're doing for people, it's become a quest for me. With that being said, I want to be able to educate you as much as I can today on what are hormones and what the difference is between the synthetics and the naturals. Well, what are hormones? Hormones are like architects. They read the DNA and they help the body remake itself. If you think about it, you'd say to yourself, okay, we have a city, we're going to put up 50 buildings. We have 50 architects. How well are those buildings going to be made? Pretty well. Because you have one architect sitting there and making sure that this building is being done every single day. Well, what would happen if we took out half of those architects? Or even worse, 90% of those architects. Now one architect has to run from building to building to building. Things are going to fall through the cracks. That's what we call aging. As our hormone level starts to drop and our vitamin level starts to drop, all of a sudden our bodies are not being rebuilt in the right fashion. One study once showed that if you took a human being and you gave it the perfect amount of water, the perfect amount of nutrients, the perfect amount, and kept their hormones high, perfect amount of vitamins, good air, devoid of stress, it would last to be about 120 to 150 years old, and when it died, it would die looking like we do at 75. That came up to the idea that we're probably aging 2 years for every one in this country. We're not meant to have stress of seeing 2 planes crash into the Twin Towers. We're not meant for that. We're not meant for a 30-year mortgage. We're not meant for being able to have a car payment, the kids, the school, the PTA, paying bills, and everything else that goes along with it. All of that puts enormous amount of stresses on us. Okay? And what happens? Our hormones pay for it. We're not meant for McDonald's. We're not meant for Burger King. We're not meant for all of the different fast foods that we eat. Why? Because those fast foods put stresses on us in one way or another, and all of a sudden, our hormones pay for it. As we age, our hormones decrease. We know that. As we age, our vitamins decrease. We know that. The result is a body that's being made in a less than efficient fashion. Your body is constantly being rebuilt. Over a 3-year period, they did a radioactive isotope study, and they showed that 90% of your body is torn down and rebuilt. 90% over a 3-year period. What's happening? What's happening to our bodies? Why is it that our bodies don't look the same 3 years ago as they do now, and they will not look the same 3 years from now? And what happens when you go in through menopause and all of your hormones go into the tank and your body starts to be remade, and it's remade in a bad fashion, okay? And all of a sudden people start seeing osteoporosis and all the other disease that we associate to aging. Why? Low hormonal function. Let's move on. Another problem that we have with conventional medicine. Right now, if you look at a thyroid levels will say, for example, and just put this in as an example, between 1 and 10. So what happens if you are a person that all of your life when you were younger were running on a 9? You could eat whatever you want, never gained a pound, and all of a sudden as life goes on, you start eating less and gaining more weight. And eating less and gaining more weight. You go to the doctor and the doctor says to you, okay, let's take a look at your thyroid, see if you do have a thyroid problem. And they check you and you're at a 2. Well, guess what? Between 1 and 10, you're normal. They don't want to know that you were running on a 9 all your life. All they want to know is that you're in between the normal ranges. You don't need any supplementation. So what do? You starve yourself to try to make sure that you don't eat more than you're supposed to. the levels of hormones, not only the thyroid, but all the other hormones are off. They're off because they're antiquated. This thyroid hormone level is right for 30 years ago, not right for now. The way to look at hormones was good for 30 years ago. It's not right for now. If you look at a man's hormone, when we used to do the blood before we did the saliva, we saw that the man's blood testosterone should be between 800 and 1,000. Between the ages of 29 and 40. Well, wait a minute. Well, who do you think had the 800? The 40-year-olds. And who do you think had the 1,000? The 29-year-olds. Well, I'm 41, and I don't want to be 41. I want to be like the 29-year-olds. You know, why can't I have my hormone levels back up to where I was when I was 29? Is there something wrong with that? Because if you went to the doctor and the doctor said you don't have enough magnesium in your body, you need to take supplements of magnesium, no one would ever fight that. If you don't have enough zinc in your body, you need to take zinc, no one would ever fight that either. If you came in and you don't have enough insulin in your body because you're going on to be a diabetic, no one would even think twice about taking the insulin. But here, we have a situation where our hormones are dropping because of age. And not so much because of age, but because of our external factors that are causing us to age faster. And no one's thinking about replenishing them. If you replenish your hormones, we did not find the fountain of youth, okay? We didn't find that. We think we found the fountain of health. We think that if you look at people that have hormones that are no longer in the right levels and you replenish them back to those normal levels, that we do change people's symptoms. We have been able to alleviate a lot of the symptoms. Take a look at today's American average quality of life. We kind of along, we do very well when we're young, and then we start dropping down, and then we bounce along the bottom as we get older, and we expect to die. So you reach a certain point, and you're saying, okay, I'm a couch potato, but what do you want? Like Dr. Lee was talking about before. Well, you're 70 years old. What do you expect? You know, I gave this seminar in front of 500 firefighters across the country, and I said, you know, person's in his 60s, he's retired, he's not expected to go out and have a good time playing golf. We shouldn't be able to take care of him and give him a little bit more spunk in his life. We shouldn't be able to give him an erection at 65. We shouldn't be able to worry about whether or not he's going to do the gardening. No, we are supposed to worry about that. If a person goes out and works for 30 or 40 years for society, doing whatever job they're doing, they should be allowed to enjoy the later years. Okay? If you look at hormones, hormones has got so many different variations of illnesses and different conditions that we can help. You look at someone and you say, wow, here's a guy who got sick, whatever the sickness was. And over a period of time, 6 months, you look at him and you say, wow, he aged 20 years. How can it be that he aged 20 years? His hormones were depressed and his body started to build itself back in an old fashion. Okay? Now he gets better. He beats the disease. He starts to take the right vitamins. He starts to walk all the time. He starts to drink more water. He starts to eat more salad. He starts to do whatever he can to make his life a little healthier. You see him 6 months after he beat the disease, and he looks better than he did before he actually got sick. Why? Hormones. When you see a guy in the gym, and the guy's doing 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, and he has great abs, and then right next to him is a guy who's doing 500 sit-ups, and his abs are terrible. Okay? Why? Hormones. All hormones play a huge part in our lives and in our bodies. We have to see, again, going back to the quality of fly, and this is Dr. Lee's example, and I'm stealing it from him. If you look at a fruit fly, okay, fruit fly goes 28 days, great quality of life, and then boop, dies. It's over, okay? I don't know about you guys, but I've talked to people that are in their 70s, and they say to me, and I said, you know, you should live to be about 150 years old. He goes, another 75 years? You could keep it. I don't want it. Okay? But now I tell him, I say, look, remember that guy that was 150 years old or 120 years old? And when he died, he looked like he was 75? What do you think he looked like at 75? Maybe what most of us look like at 40? Okay? Whoa, wait a minute. If I could have my body as 40 for another few more years, yeah, I'd buy into that. Well, exercise helps get your hormones back into normal level. the right vitamins and the right food and the right attitude, prayer, okay, or meditation helps get your hormones back into the right level. But what happens to those people that no matter what they do, they can't get those hormones back into those levels? What happens if it's just too hard to do it? That's where we come in. That's where we were able to say to you, hey, look, if you need hormone replacement, like Dr. Lee said, you have a Chevy truck, let's put in Chevy parts. You got a Ford truck, let's put in Ford parts. In your body, we know what they are. And so does everybody else, except you can't patent it. Profile Health happens to be a company where we're putting everything together, the testing, the doctor, the pharmacy, to make it easier for you. 4 basic hormones that we test in Profile Health are